solid colors in the background, but overall it was a good experience. So definitely try that out. And am I still with you guys? Everybody there?
So Phil, there's all sorts of issues. YouTube is like giving me all sorts of throttling errors on like the live dashboard. So Rob, I don't think it was just you having issues yesterday. Like I'm thinking there's an
Yeah.
actual YouTube issue. But now Phil is back
Oh,
on.
geez.
I was able to introduce
Oh,
him as like a separate speaker window. So Phil, I so hate to do this to you, but would you mind kind of recapping a little bit from where you started? Because I think we kind of got to walk it back.
sure, sure. I
Thanks,
can do
man.
like a short version of this
Cool.
this first one.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry about the YouTube's just freaking out. Long story short. So go for it, Phil.
So I don't know if you could see where I was scrolling, but I'll just kind of give a quick recap of what I just said. But basically, Adobe is featuring in their Adobe Acrobat app this new feature called Liquid Mode, and it allows you to take, a standard PDF, which is typically meant to be printed, and allow you to make a responsive version of that so that it's easier to read on your phone. So, that's obviously a big, um, I guess, pet peeve of mine personally when you open a PDF on your phone, and you kind of have to scroll around and zoom in to be able to read the text. But with this new feature, it uses AI and it kind of reads where the headings are, where images are, and it breaks it down into like a mobile version of the PDF. And I was saying how I tested it out with a few different PDFs. It definitely works better when it's kind of more just like straight text, but it actually does a pretty good job too when there are images involved. And I mentioned there was a PDF that we uploaded to the Friendship Dairies site that kind of had like a 2-column format. It was a list of stores, and I put it into liquid mode, and it made it a lot easier to read on your phone. The one thing that it didn't do was maintain the background color, but it still maintained the fonts and styles and stuff like that. So um, yeah, that's the quick version. I can keep
Yeah,
going
yeah,
from
for
there though.
sure.
Okay, so on a more serious note, I came across this campaign yesterday called Vote for Them 2020, and it's a really powerful campaign. That's as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to share this. But it's really talking about how um, all the people over the past several years who have been victims of police violence and things related to that, they can't vote, obviously. And so what this campaign is doing is it's taking kind of, you could call them iconic signs for presidential candidates and putting their names into them and basically trying to tell you, like make this a voting issue, make all of these issues a voting issue, and cast your vote with George Floyd in mind, cast your vote with Breonna Taylor in mind. And so they have this Instagram account, and each one talks about a different issue that you can, make one of your issues to vote for. And then they also have a really powerful video that you can check out, and it's a really simple. Oh, I'm going to mute that. It goes through the names, and when you listen to it, the audio gives some just like background sound of news reports that were going on at the time. So it's really powerful, and I urge you to watch it on your own. And then they have a website for it too, which is it's really really simple. Like I I don't know if they exactly put a lot of time in styling it, but basically what it allows you to do is actually take action, and you can pick these downloadable signs and put them up wherever you please. And it's really just a way to kind of, again, get word out there that this should be a voting issue. So to think about that when you go to the polls.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That's a stark reminder.
Yep.
I
I thought
also
it was
want some
especially
of these.
relevant.
Yeah, I want them like framed. These are really cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool on your wall. I wish the vote for them was a little more prominent because it might be a little misleading or confusing if you see such a recognizable name of someone who's unfortunately
Yeah.
deceased, and then like as a political sign, it might make sense if you connect the dots. But if you don't see vote for them 2020, it
Yeah.
might be a little
It
confusing.
seems pretty.
But yeah, I
It
love
seems
it.
pretty homespun too. I mean, even just like when you were on the initial Instagram page, Phil, looks like it was stood up pretty recently, and doesn't seem like there. It seems pretty organic, like because there's I think under 1,000 followers right now. So we could all help. If we dig this, we could all go follow and try to help them out a little bit. Share it. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just launched yesterday or the day before.
That's pretty good follower count for organically just getting there.
Yeah. Great. That's all I've got for you.
Nice. Well, I think DeVo is on next, right?
I am. I don't think you can see my video, but you should be able to see my screen.
Sure
now,
can. Yeah.
hopefully. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can hear
Yeah,
you.
Okay, great.
So far, so good.
So thousand followers, just in 2 days, which is wild.
I think we lost your audio again, DeVo.
And you have comedians weighing in, and you even have the Biden campaign turning the fly into its latest Get Out the Vote canvasser and fundraiser with flywillvote.com. And they also had a Biden branded fly swatter for $10 on their website. So it's a really great example of taking something that happened and rolling with it and making the most of it.
So for those of you guys who can't keep up with anything other than my my laughter, basically DeVo's just running down the who's who of all the great memes that kind of came out as a result of this fly. So basically, everything from the Twitter sphere and comedians and meme artists to the Biden campaign, campaigning with fly swatters.
Like an out of home thing where they're having these trucks drive around the city of Chicago and project these quotes onto buildings. I think they have a church right here, a chapel. And it's really just a way to get students to, read these books from the core curriculum. Most of the quotes coming from female authors, and they touch on issues like justice, truth, and violence. And this will be going on for most of the month of October. And then they're actually going to transition into advertising for votes just right before the election.
Dude, I love this. I love like the idea of mobile projection mapping, which is I mean, like now that you read about it, it's like, oh, that's obvious. That's such a cool thing because then you can just kind of take it anywhere. But it's something that never would have crossed my mind.
So to be clear, DeVo, this is
It's really nice
this.
to play.
To be clear, I was just asking DeVo, is this basically something that you have to, and I might have missed that part, you have to install the app from them, or it's just browser based?
You would have to install the app from them, but you can also view this out of home, like just walking through the city, you'll see it projected. And that's sort of, I think, the bigger play here, and to get more people to, look into the core curriculum and start reading these books.
Sure. It's a great way to provoke people into reading, right?
And then lastly, we have this new app that just came out from New York. This is a contract tracing app. And this is something that I think last week I was on a shoot with Andy, and he just mentioned to me that there's this new exposure notification system app that's out that Google and Apple actually created. And basically, it's using Bluetooth to ping random phones within your area just constantly. This is totally anonymous, totally private, but it allows you to ping other phones, and then it'll notify you if you've been in the same area as someone who has tested positive for COVID. And I believe it has about 200,000 or so downloads at the moment. But if everyone were to download it, it could be a really effective way of contact tracing. And hopefully, this is kind of like a little PSA, get the word out, because, we can use technology to help beat this thing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, DeVo, because that's something that, there's been a lot of conversation the past couple days or past week, with the commander-in-chief saying, that you shouldn't be afraid of it. But I think while I don't agree with him on a lot of things, I think the sentiment of finding ways to navigate where we can try to find senses of normalcy, and things like technology and something that's secure like that, allowing us to at least have a little bit more confidence or reassuredness, and like that's how technology can help us for good, in a strange moment like this. So I think that's really cool that they're doing that.
Yeah, really, you can just download it, set it, and forget
Right.
it, and it'll notify you if you do. But really, it's just another app. It takes you maybe a minute or two to download, and it can really.
And we all have plenty that have been on our phones forever that we haven't opened. So what's one more that can actually do us some good?
Yeah, exactly. And then a feel-good link from the New York Times. There's live animal feeds from around the world where you can watch koalas, puppies, and kittens, and all these animals. And I think it's really fun, sort of a separate topic, but just to get out from what's going on in the world and out of your home.
Little eye bleach.
Yeah, a little eye bleach for you. We'll link that.
Nice.
This is now all I care about today. This is all I'm going to do.
Rob's
When you're
productivity
working,
is
you
just
can-
tanked for the day. Thank you, David.
Just put it on your other screen. It'll be nice.
All right. Well, I don't know who's up now.
Yeah, I'll
All
share.
right, Jeff, get into it.
All right, cool. So this just released on Android. It comes to the Pixel, and you could download it for other phones as well, other Android phones. It is sound notifications, and basically we talk a lot about accessibility on the web and the need to serve a similar experience to everybody. Well, Google thinks the same, and this is an OS level. It's not a web thing. It's an OS level sound notifications. So basically, it's trained software to listen for alarms, sirens, babies, dogs, door knocks, all this kind of stuff, running water, to help deaf and hard of hearing users. They'll just receive a push notification of like, hey, we're hearing water running. And if you're a deaf person, you don't hear that, you forgot that you are doing dishes or whatever. I don't know. It's a good way to alert them via vibration, push notification, turning your camera light on and off. So I thought that was an interesting bit of software.
Yeah, and
that
I mean,
Google
all they're
is
really
pushing
doing is
out.
just taking some learning and then leveraging the other capabilities of the device to make someone aware. So again, just really
100%.
cool.
Yeah, so they've done a lot of research on Live Transcribe, which is a very popular transcription software, obviously. And they're actually hooking into Live Transcribe, the OS is, which to me kind of feels a bit like congratulating yourself, but it's gonna be pretty cool, I think, for deaf and hard of hearing community.
Yeah, that's really cool.
They're also just releasing a bunch of Go applications. Now you're not running around parks, catching monsters, but you're downloading different Google applications, the Go version. And what that means is lower power devices and devices that need, that just don't have as much, processing power and storage and stuff like that. They can download a lighter weight version of these apps. So, Gmail, Photos, Play Store, Google Play Music.
What sort of
stuff
stuff gets lost when you get a Go version? Like, is it just like capabilities? Like you can't do like you couldn't necessarily attach a video in like the Go version of Gmail or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if it's pared down visually, like they don't spruce it up and have as many swift animations and just cool visual effects to reduce the draw on them
Right.
on the processor. I would hope that that's not, they're not paring down
So
features.
who do you think this is for? Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why would I want a lighter version of my email client? Why would I want a lighter version?
Sure.
Like, is there a value or a benefit to me as an end user?
It's probably
Other than like, yeah, obviously, like maybe it takes a little less battery, like.
Yeah, it would probably be performance, like the amount of time it takes to take a picture or to send an email. Like those would probably be reduced because you don't have to load as many visual assets and JavaScript and animation and all this sort of stuff. It's just pared
maybe
down.
it'll work.
So I think it's meant for people with
Yeah,
older
I was
phones.
just gonna ask, like maybe it's for older phones, people who just can't get the newest thing, but need the capability.
Mm-hmm. This is Google offers Go variants of its most popular apps for
go.
lower power
Okay.
devices. So Gmail is made available for everyone.
I could see this being like a plus two if you happen to be going camping or something like that and you're not anywhere near a charger, but you want to still be available
Sure.
because, you want to get errands, tips, and stuff so that you don't make an ass of yourself the next time you
Right.
write an email.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Make
point
sure I
too.
don't miss anything from Lisa.
So yeah, all right. Switching gears here. The presidential and vice presidential debates. I was curious about live fact checking. So like, if there's any sort of automated way to within seconds, determine if this was factual or not. Turns out it's very difficult to do. There's a lot of nuance that goes into these questions, and half of the people don't even answer the damn thing. So it's like, how would you train, AI to respond to that kind of thing? Turns out they don't, and it ends up looking a lot like our super vowel activation, where they just have
Yeah.
literally dozens of correspondents and analysts and interns and anybody they can grab.
And they probably just give them all
researching the
like
crap
a
out of
lane,
everything.
right? Like you guys are gonna be covering anything that pertains to healthcare. You guys will anything that Supreme Court.
Probably.
Yeah, just like
and they just have 50 tabs open on top, and
this is kind of
That's probably more what it
kind of
looks
similar
like.
to the conversation you and I were having the other day about like real time on the fly, like sports analytics. Like somebody who's got to
Yes.
figure out on the fly. Oh, he just broke a record. Like how much of that is prep
At
versus how
least-
much of that is
at least with like the sports analytics, there's
right.
a truth. There's like a database that you can go to, and it says, okay, yeah, this guy got 400 yards last game. There's no such thing really that exists for the political
other than
landscape.
he lied
I
last
don't
time.
think. Right. So he's probably doing it again. I thought this design, just completely separate, I thought this design of the page is pretty interesting. Right. You get a red, white, and blue gradient that just fades to white, but there's that whole above the fold, below the fold kind of play where there's almost nothing above the fold except for the headline and like some supporting detail. And it's a fade to white, encouraging you to scroll down. I don't know. Thought that was kind of interesting. So register to vote. Tomorrow's the last day. Make sure you do that. This is all you need. Freaking ID
There you go.
and your social security number. Just do it.
Just do it.
I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm sure everybody here is registered.
I would
to vote,
hope
but,
so.
But yeah, like reach out to somebody who you don't think is. I know I can think of a
Yeah.
couple people, a couple of my friends. Yeah.
Get them.
That's all I got
Nice.
today.
Jake, did you have anything you were gonna walk through?
Sure. I always can find something. Let me see if I can find my proper window. Does that look
I
like
mean, it looks
anything?
like, okay, I was gonna say it looked like Mike Pence's fly in his head, but now it looks like the first tech company to ban
Very
the Trump
important.
campaign.
That's all right. Yeah, go to flywillvote.com to make sure that you're
There you go.
registered. Yeah, so I thought that this was interesting, and I love, I've shared this newsletter before, branded, how they say the newsletter exploring how marketers broke society and how we can fix it. So it's kind of like, we know there's a lot of problems within, marketing and advertising, kind of shady practices, but we're the ones that are also, responsible and can help fix it as well. So that's kind of what this brand is about. But this article is just about the first tech company to ban the Trump campaign from using their software. And it's actually Hotjar, which is a piece of software that we use
We
on our
sure
website
do.
as well. So it's just kind of nice to know that something that we use kind of aligns with our values. And essentially what happened is, as a lot of companies do, they had put out their little letter of here's what we believe, and we're against racism. But then someone kind of figured out, oh, they actually are letting the Trump campaign use their service, which is sort of like a website analytics service for people who don't know. And so someone kind of found that out. They tweeted it out, and it uh, ended up going viral, I guess, in this sort of space. So initially they tried to kind of downplay it, but it just gained some traction, and eventually um, they sort of switched course and decided, we're not going to allow them to use our services because it doesn't align with our values. Um, and I just thought that that was really interesting. Um, we see a lot of this where Twitter can really like blow something up, and things that you think as a company you may be able to hide, it's not as realistic anymore. And that that same thing happened with Hootsuite a few weeks ago, where an employee tweeted out and basically put their job on the line to tweet out to say that Hootsuite had an ICE contract, and a lot of employees pushed back on it, but they decided to move forward with it. But once that tweet gained some traction, again, Hootsuite changed course and was like, no, we're not actually going to work with ICE, but it's these types of whistleblowers and just kind of the virality of the internet that allows these things to happen and come to light, and that holds companies accountable to what they say their values are on their website versus how they're actually practicing it. So these are both tools that we or our clients may use, and it's a really interesting thing to now also, as marketers, have to keep in mind, what are we using and what does that company believe, and what are our customers going to think about these tools, and how it's all kind of just connecting
Yeah.
together, and we have to be a little more careful and values aligned, I would
Yeah,
say.
and as much as I actually really appreciate what Hotjar and Hootsuite did here, I think it does create an interesting tension point, in the tech industry, because when you start, saying, hey, we're gonna operate our business based on our personal values, you can absolutely align with a business based on what those values are, but what happens when you are at the exact opposite end of what that company's values are, and whether you're right or they're wrong, like who's to say? Like nobody's right or wrong, it's all subjective in a sense. But I think that can create some interesting dilemmas further down the road. Like right now people are sweepingly in favor of this stuff and supporting it because there's a certain skew or bias that's sort of pretty clear. But I just think it does raise an interesting conversation for when all of a sudden, maybe a big company does something that we don't all agree with. They're saying, well, we're just, we're living up to our values. That's what we believe.
And I think it's going to open the door too for different companies in the same space to have their key differentiator be their values, where maybe they're offering similar products, but they just have different values. So I think we'll see kind of a trend towards that in the future. Sort of on the same vein, I found this website privacy inspector, and you can type in an address. Like I tried this one, it was terrifying. And it tells you like all the ways that this site is tracking you. So this adweek.com has 29 ad trackers, and that's more than the average of 7 that were found on popular sites. So you can kind of expand this to learn more. And I even like the way that their UX is. So they give you this overview. You can expand to see more. It says, here's some of the companies we found and 21 other companies. You click that and you can see all of the companies. So they let you get all the data, but they also kind of can give you like an easily digestible overview as well. Obviously, as like an advertising property, they've probably got a lot of trackers on their site.
We would call that progressive disclosure.
Third-party cookies. And then obviously it tells you, Facebook knows when you visit this site. Google Analytics can follow you across the internet from this site. Here are all of the companies that this website interacted with, LinkedIn, Oracle, Salesforce. And, this all makes sense, but you don't really think about the way that you're being tracked across the internet. So again, just, holding websites and companies accountable to the way that they're using your information. So I thought that was an interesting tool and speaks to, the trend.
Yeah, this is pretty powerful
that we've been talking about. So moving into, more useful, more fun, less doom and gloom. I found this tool called Marpipe, and it's a tool that lets you create add creative templates with different variables. And so you can easily kind of like swap out all of these variables and generate multiple ads to test out. And they've got an Adobe XD plugin that you can use. And so you can see here, right? Like this is the same template, but it's a different product, and you can change out what's the CTA, what is the copy here, and you can quickly generate all these versions without having to kind of like copy and paste and like make new layers or make new files just to make all of these different variations. So this seems like something that could be useful to us in the future. There is a cost associated with, but tools like this are something to keep in mind. It keeps us, gives us a lower overhead and still allows us to kind of experiment and play around with these types of advertisement spots. And lastly, you won't be able to hear how cool this is, but I thought this was just like a really nice thing to end a website with. So this is this new credit card. It's made of metal. A lot of people are talking about it. And if you go all the way down to the bottom of the website, you can hear the metal. So you click this and you can just hear the card falling. It matches exactly with kind of that video animation. And we'll send out the link later, but this is just like a really nice last thing to put on your website. It's just really like delightful user experience where if someone got all the way to the bottom, it's just like that one extra add to the website. They didn't need to put it there, but it makes you feel so happy when you hear the metal clanking on the ground.
I wonder how that would play on mobile.
Thing. I would imagine the same. It's just a video with audio.
You gotta have your sound on and volume up, I would imagine.
Smaller.
But it wouldn't autoplay though, right?
It might.
Mobile.
So it's actually muted, and if I refresh, it's a little tricky, right? So this kind of makes it look like the sound is on, but what's happening is it's a looping muted video, which is allowed to autoplay. If you click this, that's when it turns the sound on and plays the video again. So it takes that as the user interaction that is like consenting to your audio.
Yep.
Nice little ASMR kick there at the end.
Yeah, very, very fun for me personally.
I wonder if it's heavy. I like a light wallet. Anyway.
Well, that seems like
could probably reach out.
That seems like a good note to go out on. Unless Rob, did you have anything, or you were good?
No, I'm gonna leave it with Phil. That was perfect.
Phil, I like a light wallet to Sika.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging in with us today, guys. Sorry about the YouTube freakouts. We'll look into that this week and hopefully be much tighter and sharper for next week. But we got the audio sorted out, so appreciate you guys checking us out. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Go get a pumpkin. You will have a full extra day on Sunday because the Bills are apparently playing on Tuesday. So all is strange and good in the world. So That's right.
Strange and good.
Yeah, enjoy your light wallets out there, friends. See you next time.
See y'all.
Bye.